here's my bigger point. And I'm not comparing Rudy Giuliani to Joe Biden, but every single day, Joe Biden says something that would end my career if I said it once. And I never hear Democrats having to answer for him. So I just wonder, why is it that I must always answer for someone else in my party when they say it? I think Rudy Giuliani's allowed his opinion. He's a big boy, he's a strong man, he can defend himself. And so I do think that points to some of that bias.
Pretty interesting, right? That was Senator Marco Rubio yesterday talking about how the mainstream media is showing what he described as a double standard for Republicans and Democrats. And he's not alone. The RNC today released what it called clear evidence that the media is not playing fair. Trace Gallagher has all of this for us. Quite interesting stuff. Trace?
It is, Martha. Last week, the Democrats were dealing with three newsworthy controversies. First, the report that since she left her position as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton's foundation has seen an increase in contributions from foreign governments, something that even former Obama Press Secretary Robert Gibbs called awkward. Second, Politico's report that Democratic National Committee Chair and sitting Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz was planning to accuse President Obama of being anti-women and anti-Semitic if he had replaced her in 2013. The third story is Vice President Biden saying this. Listen.
It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. I might add, if you ever come to the train station with me, you'll notice that I have great relationships with them because there's an awful lot of driving cabs and are friends of mine.
Well, the Washington Post gave that statement for Pinocchios, but according to numbers presented to the Republican National Committee from an outside firm, those three stories combined were mentioned last week on radio and television 548 times. But when former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani said he doesn't believe President Obama loves America, it was mentioned more than 9,000 times. That's 18 times as much. The RNC thinks it's because the media kept the Giuliani story going by asking potential GOP presidential candidates about it. So we checked it out. And it turns out Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, Rand Paul, Rick Perry, Bobby Jindal, and Marco Rubio were all asked about Giuliani. Yet not a single potential Democratic presidential candidate was asked or responded to any of the stories involving Democrats. Not Hillary, not Vice President Biden, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, Senator Bernie Sanders, or Senator Elizabeth Warren. The RNC is crying double standard, and they believe the numbers support them. Martha.
Trace, thank you very much. Joining us with more on this, Chris Darwell, our Fox News digital politics editor, and Joe Trippi, former presidential campaign manager and Fox News contributor. Welcome, guys. All right. Darwell, have at it. What do you think?
Well, look, the one thing we should be clear about there isn't much of a Democratic primary to cover. It's basically covering a shotgun wedding between Hillary Clinton and her party, and it's not a pretty sight. But even accounting for that, even allowing for the fact that there's just more news and there's more interest on the Republican side this cycle, even with that, obviously this is out of whack, and it's always out of whack. This is not a new thing. What's new here is data that actually supports in real time with comparable things, which is, and maybe not even comparable, a sitting vice president saying a demonstrably false and racist-y kind of thing about Somali cab drivers who aren't Somali and aren't in Delaware, versus the former, 2 times ago former mayor of New York City saying something at a dinner. Those are not exactly equal things, and they were treated unequally and in inverse correlation to their newsworthiness.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the numbers on this, though, Joe, the Clinton Foundation, foreign investment, which even Robert Gibbs, as was pointed out, said that's a little awkward, got 420 results. Rudy Giuliani's statements about the president, 9,092. I mean, it's not even close. It's not even a horse race, Joe.
Well, first of all, any time somebody says something controversial about a president, particularly someone like Giuliani, it's going to get more coverage because of who he's attacking or who he's making the comments about. But look, the fact of the matter is there really is only one circus in town, and I don't mean that in a pejorative, but one sort of show. There's only one game that anybody wants to talk about, and it's an exciting race on the Republican side. And I think there's a bigger bias going on here. And there is clearly a bias. Those numbers are so far out of whack that you can't claim otherwise. But I think the bigger bias, and this is the one I think people should pay attention to, is that the press has a bias towards winnowing down large fields. This Republican field is the largest in history. The media believes it's their job to get this down to 2 or 3 candidates as soon as possible. For a lot of reasons, they don't have the money to cover 20 candidates. And it's these 20 candidates or 18 candidates jockeying for position. That's the more interesting story, and it's better. Again, it's about winnowing it down. That's why they cover the straw votes and everything else that goes on to get this thing down.
I mean, maybe when they winnow it down, somebody will turn to Hillary Clinton and ask her about the foreign investment in her campaign, because it'll be more even at that point. But it'll be interesting how long this story sticks around. And Joe Biden, I don't know.
But Chris is right. Chris is right. There's there is no winnowing down process on the Democratic side right now. We don't even know if there are going to be 2 candidates really in the race.
Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye, Chris. Bye, Joe.